Hello, my name's Richard. I'm the pastor of the King's Church in Addlestone in Surrey. And for the next few weeks, I'm just going to be talking about what it is to be a church, being a church. Giving you hopefully a practical guide to what it is to be God's people together. That's really my vision for our church, is that we would just simply be a church. We would get on with the business of being God's people. So to start off, I'm going to take us into John's Gospel. John wrote this wonderful account of Jesus' life. It's the fourth gospel you'll find in the scriptures, the fourth account of Jesus' life. And about halfway through, Jesus says this. He says, "A new commandment I give to you." So you can imagine the disciples. They're all ears. They know the old commandments, or maybe they would have just called them commandments because they wouldn't necessarily have been old then, except for the fact they've been around a long time. So maybe they were old commandments. Anyway, they knew these commandments. And to be honest, they didn't really get on that well with following them. Nobody really did. They were difficult to follow, impossible to follow. And so maybe a new commandment might just shed some light, or that would be interesting. Let's find out what this new commandment is, because maybe it's something we can actually latch onto. And so Jesus says this: "A new commandment I give to you, love one another." And you can imagine the disciples going, did he just say, hang on. We've heard that one before, haven't we? I'm sure we've heard that one before. Yes, definitely. We have heard that one before. That's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Flick through the Bible. Yes, in Leviticus chapter 19, it says, "Love your neighbour as yourself." We've heard this command before. This isn't really new. We've heard it before. Does Jesus actually know what he's talking about? Has he read these old commandments? I wonder what's going on here. Because surely Jesus did know those old commandments, right? Maybe we need just to listen carefully to what he's saying. Maybe we need to hear afresh what these words are. Is this a new commandment? Now, about listening, let me tell you a story. Just recently, my children, we were in the car on a journey, the family, and we're going to get some eggs and we're going to hatch them into chicks, and then we're going to give them away. But for some reason, the children want to name these eggs, chicks, and give them names. And for some reason, I don't know how, we managed to, but they all wanted the names to begin with P. So I'm on this car journey and they are just bombarding names beginning with P. I don't know, we had Peters and Pauls, a whole lot. And it was getting a bit kind of tedious to me. I'm driving the car. So I thought, okay, if you can't beat them, join them. So I joined in, and I came up with the name Petrushka. It didn't go down so well, but I thought I'd just stick with it. I just kept saying Petrushka. Another name, no, Petrushka. So I kept on with this, because if they can be annoying, so can I. So there we go. Anyway, long story short, no, I'm going to carry on with the story. So later on, a few days later, I'm in the car again with just one of my children this time, and the radio's on, Radio 3. Sometimes I get my choice. And sure enough, on the radio comes Stravinsky's ballet, Petrushka. That's where I got the name from, by the way. So I turn it up. I start listening to this and thinking, hey, this is Petrushka, have a listen to this. And I'm starting to listen because I'm wondering, how is my daughter going to hear this? That's assuming she's going to listen to it. She probably didn't. But anyway, I'm listening. Will she hear this melody? Will she hear that melody? And I start to listen to this piece in a whole new way. I know this piece well, but now I hear these melodies that are familiar, but they intertwine in a way, and then they collide and they crash and they fight. Same with the rhythms and the tempos, they just seem to be bashing into one another. And I knew this stuff about Stravinsky's writing and the way he put this piece of music together, but for some reason I'm listening to it in a new way, and I have a new appreciation of something that I've heard that has been very familiar to me for a long time. And I think we need to do that with Jesus' words all the time. We need to just keep asking and coming afresh to this and saying, what is Jesus really saying here? Let's listen carefully. He says it's a new commandment. Let's listen carefully to what he is saying. Even though this sounds like an old commandment, what is new? Because, see, Jesus would have been well aware of the old commandments. He would have been well aware of the teaching of Leviticus, much more than us. So if he says, here's something new, we need to listen and hear the newness. Jesus says, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. See, the newness of the command is not the actual instruction, but actually the way of doing it. He says, love one another like I have loved you. We are to love one another the way Jesus has loved us. Now, never before had the world seen a love like the love of God made flesh and blood in the person of Jesus. So this new command to love is based on the model that Jesus gives to us. He brings to us. This love we receive from Jesus is the love that we are to give to one another. So this love isn't a mere fondness of something we're familiar with, someone who's been around for a while and so we have this kind of affection for that person. This love isn't some kind of self-interested love based on our likes, the kind of thing, well, I love ice cream and I love going on holiday. It's not that kind of love. This love isn't based on feelings or emotions. This love is a self-giving, self-offering, completely unconditional love. Undeserved, unnecessary, you would say, love. It's a love that says you are loved simply because you are loved. Not because you're worthy, not because you're acceptable, not because you're good looking, not because you're talented, not because you're successful, not because you're popular, not because you're good, not because you're righteous. Simply you are loved because you're loved. It's a pure love with no conditions attached. It's a love that really words do not do justice to. It's something you will only know and find as you learn from and meditate on Jesus himself. So, in truth, the only way to follow this new commandment to love one another like Jesus loved is to absorb yourself in his love, to receive his love. You can't follow this command by just reading it and knowing about it. You have to receive Jesus' love. It's something that flows from him to us and then can flow out from us. Jesus says, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. That is the new thing. It's the way. It's never been seen before. And now Jesus has shown it to us. And that's the newness. So you've got to know this unconditional love of Jesus. You've got to know this self-giving love of Jesus before you can start to love in his way. Jesus' love is the foundation for the church. You'll find that. Now, I have to say, I've experienced this type of love in many churches I've visited, churches I've been in. But I'm just going to pick one story just to tell you. When we were first married, Louise and I ended up being involved in organising some music for a church conference. And I needed to borrow a drum kit from somewhere so that we could have a drum kit in this conference. And I don't know, I have no idea how, but anyway, I have friends in a church called the Iranian Christian Fellowship in Acton. And believe it or not, they're mainly Iranians. And these are people who have met Jesus in quite radical ways, in some cases, been rescued from false religion and abusive situations, and they've come to Christ and known his love in a powerful way. So I'd arranged to go to this church one Sunday after their Sunday service to pick up this drum kit. So I needed it for the following week. So I'd arranged the time, knew when the service was finishing. So I get there, and of course the church service is just finishing, and people sort of milling around. And these are people most of them I don't know at all. Some of them I know a little bit. One or two I know reasonably well. And they are all Iranians, very different to me, look different, just are different in so many different ways. But they've all radically encountered the love of Jesus. And so I go in through the door, and I can remember it to this day. I'm welcomed, like, oh goodness, I'm hugged, I'm offered food, I'm told how good I'm looking, yeah, really, and I'm blessed, I'm prayed for, I'm treated as if I'm like this returning member of the family that everyone has known forever, and I'm just like the bee's knees. I don't know. I can't really describe it. The other thing is, normally when you're having to move a drum kit, you have to pack it up, and every band I've been in, the drummers are always doing this themselves. I usually go and help them, but it's quite laborious. You have to take things down, pack them all up, then put it back in the back, hoik it out, put it in the back of your car. I didn't do any of that. The drums just were taken down. Yeah, okay, we'll do it for you. Placed in the boot of the car. It was just an amazing experience. I went to borrow a drum kit. That's what I thought I was doing. I came away having encountered the love of Jesus in his church. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. All will know you are my disciples if you love one another. Here's the foundation of what it is to be the church, to be Jesus' people, to love as Jesus loved. And in doing so, the church will look like and behave like Jesus. And all will know that this church, these are followers of Jesus himself. And so I pray that you know and receive the fullness of the love of Christ. And that I pray that we as a church would increase in our love for one another more and more. In Christ. Amen.